For Pastina, please, we're streaming. Oh, no. Technical issues in the background. Well, assuming this is being heard, it is welcome, everyone, to the Endurance Racing Federation. This is round 3 of the ERF GT Challenge for 2024, coming from Monza. We've had round 1 from Bathurst for the Bathurst 12 hours. The second round was the last time out at the Nürburgring for the infamous Nürburgring 24 hours, full of absolute chaos, incredible pace, interesting strategies, and a fantastic finish. And now we come to the first sprint race of the championship, with the Monza Sprint being a 1-hour solo driver event. So there are no driver swaps in this event. It is one driver, one mandatory pit stop, 33 laps to determine a winner. However, there will be 2 splits of this race, as the interest was great enough to warrant it. The points awarded from this event will be for Drivers' Championship only. This does not affect the Team's Championship. This doesn't affect the ability to pre-qualify or avoid having to pre-qualify for future events. This is solely for Drivers' standings at the end of the season. So bring your fastest drivers and see who can try and steal back some points off championship leader Distinct Filo. I've been known him so long, I've forgotten how many nicknames he's run. But we've seen a lot of the highly favoured drivers like Filo, Anatami, Pastina Calda, all talking about doing last-minute setups. So potentially some interesting outcomes to be seen here, as we see guys sort of getting used to their setups on the fly before we start qualifying. Right now we're in the depths of practice. Before qualifying starts, we have 50 litres on board for qualifying before the 1-hour race. The second split will also do that with qualifying before the race, as these are individual races. The intent was originally to have only one driver from any given car in the lobbies, but the way it's all planned out, a couple of teams have a couple of drivers involved. But for the most part, it is one driver per team in each lobby. Let's see who can sneak out of the pits first here when everything starts, assuming my game will let me... Yep, good to know. It will actually let me stay in here. Well, Tim's not P1 game. Give me P1. Alright, I'll have to work it out. Nope, wrong one. Alright, so among all the other various rules, there is one mandatory pit stop. So the race length is 33 laps, and there is one mandatory pit stop between laps 15 and 22. There is no weather here at Monza, so it will be a dry race, meaning that all 3 of the dry weather compounds are available with soft, medium, and hard. So far I've seen people on softs and mediums. And now with a forced pit stop, you'd be wondering, why would anyone be going to mediums? Is the tyre wear that bad? No, it's because of the very intricate balance of performance system created by Distinct Filo, which limits the maximum horsepower, the minimum weight, and the maximum performance points, which means going to a worse tyre in the mediums is actually allowing some teams a little more freedom in terms of their weight, in terms of their power, in terms of their aerodynamics, to try and potentially find a better overall car balance and performance despite the worst quality tyre. This also means that by the end of the stint, they will have less degradation than their rivals, giving them potentially an advantage at the end of the stint without necessarily losing any pace at the start of the stint by being on what is seen to be as an inferior tyre, as we see Hide getting hugely sideways through Ascari, and the dangerous Finnish driver Anatami looking to go through, and then deciding maybe not, I think I'll hang back here and take a nice slipstream down to turn 1 as he slots in with Filo. Oh no, they're all 3 wide here. This is not how we want to start qualifying, gentlemen. Oh, sorry, that's Yeast, that's not Anatami, I apologise. Anatami's in a BMW, not a McLaren, as we see Filo going for the slipstream in his AMG as the current championship leader. The design, Mr. T informs me, is actually one of his art pieces. He made it just earlier this week. He's been practicing for, I think, 20 years, and his style hasn't really changed, but it is coming along, and it's now become art on a race car. Of course, he was joking with that. He's actually an abstract artwork he has legitimately done, as opposed to a child's drawing. I'm not going to be that mean to him, because he's actually done a really nice job. It works well. It's better than the BMW art cars of late, until the last one, I think. Anyway, so I think qualifying was 15 minutes off the top of my head. I remember seeing that, and I'm now second guessing myself, but it's too late to go and look. So we just have to wait for times to sort of show up as everyone finds their way into some space. And if you look out the very, very back of everyone, it looks to be in order. That's good to know. You've got a couple of drivers actually finding space, and oh look, it's Anatami on the mediums for the. Are they racing team? No, it's I've forgotten their name off the top of my head. It's very foolish. It is GT Finland Racers. They were a massive threat at the Nürburgring for the overall win. Before I think they got beaten on tyre wear at the end of that race, and then various other things happened. But it was a fascinating finish. Anyway, we'll go back to the front and we'll keep an eye on who's setting lap times. Looks like Filo has pulled away from. It's not yet. It must have been Hide, I believe, who's now in second place. For some reason, the timing board isn't updating it, but I guess that's because we are only looking at what it believes to be raw position. We think that's Tim Law there, also getting a run on Yeast at the end of the first lap here. I think he's attempting to get up with Philo, and it's a 47.4 for Philo and a 47.5 for Tim Law. So straight away, 47.5s. The discussion was, were 46s possible before qualifying, but it looks like 47s are definitely possible, and we are hard into them. We've got oh god, I'm not going to get through that. Lugi is on PS. Okay, that's actually way more simple, and I'm just silly. A couple of 55s there, so a couple of people might have had mistakes or dramas. And Anatami, it's a 46.9 to go to the top. He's let everyone disappear in front of him, found himself some nice clean air, and that will be a great way to start near the front. I suspect he will not be any worse than third after that. One lap in, I can't see many people getting down to the 47.0s, let alone the 46.9s. That's probably a front row start for the GT Finlanders team. Philo was saying before the race that he was going to be put on fraud watch because he was worried about how slow he was, but already second place, no chance of that happening. It's a real shame because it makes him a massive liar as opposed to a fraud, but what's the difference between the two? As you would not absolutely expect. As you would expect, no chance that Philo's going to be slow. He was one of the best drivers out at Nürburgring, very quick at Bathurst, and as a result leading the Drivers' Championship overall by some margin. I believe his teammates changed, so no one's within touching distance of him, and it looks like Anatami's going to have a crack at closing the gap at the front, but it's only 5 points from first to second, so it's not going to close the gap up particularly much between where Philo is and the rest of the field in the driver's title, but some of us are looking more at the endurance events in terms of the team's position, and for now, Philo looking very comfortable ahead of the Drivers' Championship. We have many events left. Hide gets a PB, a 48.5 in that McLaren. Rick Slim, a 47.7. Pastina Carla, a 47.7. So it looks like mid-47s are the place to be. And Speed Hunter, a 47.2. So we're finally seeing the gap be closed from the 47.5s at the front to Anatami with his 46.9. Where does Anatami get to? Group for the Akipax Racing Team, 48.2. I think that was Funny Kitten, 49.2. So they're getting on, starting to get a clean lap in, but it looks like Anatami had to back that one off. GTMA Ovic has not run a lap yet, so potentially waiting. Just as we go on board, he fires it up. He's lost the first 6 minutes of qualifying here, but there is still time to put down at least a few good laps. Of course, tyre and fuel wear is still on, so you'll expect to see people warping to pits or taking pit stops in order to get fresh tyres. Potentially taking regular pit stops to keep the fuel burn down. We'll see if anyone decides that fuel burn is worth more than the time taken to waste an extra in-lap and an out-lap. But for my mind, I'd be doing it, but then again, I'm not particularly in the car, so I could be wrong. Of course, you see now, penalty for 0.5 seconds. The track limit penalties are on for qualifying to avoid having to do post-race qualifying penalties, which are pretty pointless because it doesn't change the fact that you have started in your qualifying position. So the track limit penalties are on. The track limits are, of course, between the white lines, so you cannot take all of the curb as some of the tracks in this game will let you. As we're looking at the Project 1 McLaren there. Excuse me. So you have to stay between the white lines in the race and in qualifying, and you'll be pinged, and your lap invalidated if you overstep. as we see Eric Slim slide up into second place, and Philo taking tyres, Speed Hunter taking tyres. They've split the session perfectly in half. 2 flying laps and a pit stop. Let's have a look at Eric's has got. Eric's has got pretty good tyre wear, but he's on mediums. Oh, we see Ramaz and Groot 200ths of a second apart with 48 zeros, stealing their way into 8th and 9th respectively. That is a very tight grab, and it's crazy to think they're a second off the pace, but Anatami is genuinely proper. The GT Finland's team, proper alien squad. All class, no weak drivers, no issues ever in their execution, really. So being 1 second off those guys is a good day for a lot of us, and Group probably, is sitting there thinking he's a second off, but that's a really good result if he can get any closer to the front, because he's in 8th, which is barely in the back half of the grid, and this is a very, very competitive field. The joke before was talking about this was the ERF top split with guys like Anatami, Slim, Speed Hunter, Philo, Pastina, Timlaw. Like, these are guys who have been fighting at the front of any given stint of any given endurance race. And beating any of them is genuinely an impressive effort. So even if you're sitting in 5th, you're ahead of Pastina, you'll have to take that, because that is not an easy feat. All of those guys have put on stints over the last year and a half that make you question whether or not you're good enough to do this anymore. They are genuinely, properly quick drivers. Let's check in on Arix. Oh, he's got a bit of a slipstream train. He's giving Pastina a tow here. And Lugi is on PS, a 47.1. Steals second place from Arix. And then Timlaw 47.1 in that slipstream train steals it back from Lugi. We've got 2/10ths to the lead, 500ths between second and third, 8,000ths between third and fourth, 500ths between fourth and fifth, and then a massive 1.9 between Speed Hunter and Philo. So Philo really letting the team down there, being only 3 or 4 tenths off pole. Actually, there's 5 tenths off pole. Pastina there missed the first chicane and then having to just gently wait for everyone to come through. But with Speed Hunter and Philo taking fresh tyres, expect them to put in a better lap later in this session and close the gap to the top. Just trying to go through the field because there's just so much happening. Oh, and Groot's now got a penalty after going back-to-back personal best laps to double his lead over Ramaz from 200ths to 400ths. So it looks like most of the Audis are running mediums. I think I saw Anatami was on mediums. I'm not sure if anyone else is on mediums other than those guys. So the Lexus with yeast... McLaren or Lexus? McLaren. Okay, so McLaren runs softs, but that car's always been good on tyres, so that makes sense at least. Hito and the McLaren also on softs. Yeah, so all 3 McLarens on softs. All the R8s are on mediums. 1 BMW on mediums, 1 BMW on softs, I believe. And then we have an AMG. So we have the first Mercedes AMG to run mediums, because I believe Speed Hunter and Philo, where are they? They're 5th and 6th, I'll find them, are both on softs. They are. So that's they've diverted from the, what you would say is the conventional strategy. As Eric Slim, 161. How did that not improve him? No, he snuck past Lugi's on PS. Just gets him. The gap now between the second, third, and fourth is 500ths of a second. 3 cars, 500ths. Sorry, I forgot. The Speed Hunter's there. It's 4 cars within a 10th and a bit. It is super tight here at the top. So I said Anatami would struggle to get beaten by to third, but it looks like he's still going to hang on. As we now Speed Hunter, he goes from the bottom of that pile to the top of that pile, but it's only by 600ths. I'm surprised we didn't see more people coming in for tyres at the end of that lap, because I don't think you can get back out after this. Depending on where you are on the track, I would be very surprised if you get out for one more flying lap. So the track design racing cars with Philo and Speed Hunter playing the game here, getting some fresh tyres and getting really good pace after that stop. Fresh tyres, low fuel, they've kept their fuel advantage, and Speed Hunter again up on himself. This might be the first time anyone challenges Anatami. Oh, but it looks like he's spun, and it has. Oh, I heard the sideways motion after seeing the gravel come up, but he still gets another couple of attempts. I think we still have 3 more minutes of this session. Oh, and then Dirty Tyres picks him up as he's completely unable to make the first Lesmo corner. Now kindly staying out of the way there and then getting out of the way of the next McLaren before realising, no, I've got enough time, we'll be A-okay. So those last minute last minute setup changes, Filo giving Speed Hunter potentially causing a little bit of instability, but making those cars very, very quick. And we see Anatami there with a penalty, but with how little degradation those mediums have, I would suggest that he could improve still further without really having to, without really losing anything. And Filo, there we go. He improves with a 147.3, meaning that it is 2/10 from 2nd to 6th, 3/10 from 2nd to 7th. Excuse me. Improvements starting to fade out without many people hopping into the pit lane. Just checking back there. Oh, we see Groot is now 8 thousandths behind. Oh, Giddy Techno. Another Italian driver. There are a lot of Italian drivers in this series, which is something I'm not usually coming across as an Australian. But it's great to see, and the amount of R8s being used and used well is actually excellent, because people normally stay away from those mid-engine cars, but with the BOP in place here, they're actually quite competitive. And it's great to see them actually getting used as opposed to shunned for the traditional front-engine rear-wheel drive cars that you'll see. And he's actually purple in Sector 1. He is 700ths up and quicker than Anatami in Sector 1. Oh, and I think that's Hide who's sideways there in the McLaren. But maybe those mediums, they're okay through the slow speed. Maybe in the high speed there's where they're struggling with the grip there. So through the Lesmos here, 1 and 2, maybe he loses more ground, but not so bad in terms of the straight line performance for braking and then getting back on the throttle because of the mid-engine nature of the Audi R8. Just check in on the split here. Is he still up? Now he's 0.02 down on himself, but no longer ahead of Anatami. So Anatami on those mediums doing a really good job in the Lesmos, which is a... Oh, as he runs wide, he'll get a penalty for that, unfortunately. So you may as well just back off once you get out there, because you've already lost time, but the game will just ping you. No, he gets away with it. Well done. As Ramaz now goes to a 47.9 to take 9th place, pushing Groot down to 11th. Those two still only separated by 400ths. Never mind, Groot goes a 47.8 and gets it back ahead, and the time has expired, which means Gira Techno is going to be the first one to cross, I believe. A couple of people have left the pit lane, and that's not gone well for them. Who can finish? We've got Yeast. It wasn't Hide, I apologise to Hide. We're all abusing track limits there because you can't get pinged once the line is crossed. I don't mind that, but at the same time, naughty, naughty. GTMA Ovic is able to improve on the final lap, and is only 1/10 off 3 Cat. Check back in on Anatami at the front. No idea who's on good laps. I apologise. It's tough to keep a tab on without a timing screen, because that's something we got rid of between games. So I can't sit there looking for who's up on a good sector and then go jump to them. No dice for Anatami. Speed Hunter's done. Is everyone done and I just wasn't paying attention? No, we have drivers going nose to tail here. It's Pastina and Ramaz has gone off for the GT Italia squad. No idea if Pastina was involved in that, but seeing it's his last lap, I can see why he would stay on it, but not the best politeness there to put a man under pressure like that on the final lap going through the Ascari chicane. And Eric Slim, he steals! The death steals P3 from Timlaw, 8 thousandths between them. The gap is incredible, and Philo does as well. No, he gets Lukey. Oh, Lukey gets beaten by 300ths. He's 14 thousandths behind Tim. He's 22 thousandths behind Eric's, and that leaves him a whopping 800ths behind his teammate Speed Hunter. Oh, wow, that is great. And we'll quickly look at the results here. So, Anatami, nobody got to him in the end after that lap 1 flyer, but 47.07, 47.13, 47.14, 47.15, and 47.19, 2nd to 6th is all to play for here, at least over 1 lap. That is a great start. Absolutely fantastic. Pastina sort of in no man's land, a whole 2/10 out of that fight, but a whopping 5/10 clear of 8th place AXR Group with Hide, I think, was only a couple of tenths behind him. And then Ramaz, only thousandths. Girategno, thousandths again. Yeast, only a tenth and a half. And then Furicat and Ovic also very close between themselves, but ultimately not necessarily on the same pace as the guys around them. I believe we now cancel the result of the qualifying, manually set the grid, which should be still correct. Yep, and then we'll fire up the race. Just checking in, making sure I haven't forgotten anything. Sorry, I need the Z button. Anyway, so a reminder, it is a 33 lap race, but I believe I was going to say I think it's a manual rolling start, but I can't remember. Pastina apologized to Ramaz, so it looks like he was giving him a little bump draft, but might have left it a little bit too late to do it, so he feels like he was responsible in some way. And as the host of the session, who's not driving and has not driven this season, I believe, is Mr. T. Thank you so much on behalf of everyone here from the ERF, Endurance Racing Federation, to make these events possible. Thank you, and behind the scenes, Jaeger, who is doing an incredible job running all the back-end streams and making everything run smoothly. Thank you both so much for making these events happen, because without you, we're not here. And of course, Philo for the BOP, but I'll mention the BOP a bunch, and he'll get lots of credit. And he's already winning, so it's fine. He doesn't need to be reminded how good he is. We'll just let Anatami remind him he could be better on Anatami's self-proclaimed 10-minute tune. And we see the race is starting. Starting or resetting? Resetting, I guess. And everyone has to then jump back on track. Yeah, we're resetting for the 33 lap step. They're correct, sorry. Confused myself. If I don't explain it to myself, who will? And then we're all lost, and that's not a good time for anyone. Well, maybe for me, but you guys will be very confused. So we are not far away from the start, and people are talking about losing horsepower because of oil wear. Well, that is a drama. So anyone who forgot to look after the oil condition is going to find themselves losing precious horsepower and precious performance points, which could have been used to fix an aero balance, potentially reduce weight. But no dice. We have a 1 hour sprint, 33 laps here at Monza. Just going to have to deal with it. That 2 horsepower is what you're going to have to live without, and potentially maybe having a few horsepower less and trim a bit of wing, move a bit of ballast around could be beneficial. But that's the beauty of these regulations. Until you go and test it, you don't know. And as Phil is pointing out in the Discord, the ERF Discord, which feel free to join and fire a team up and try and get involved in these events. More plans to do this for the rest of the year with the ERF GT Challenge. And of course, again in 2025 with, as usual, bigger and bolder plans for future events. Having 5 cars within a tenth is pretty good. And you look at the cars, it's an AMG, it's a Porsche, it's a BMW, it's a Lexus. We've got 4 different makes within 5 spots there. There are 2 BMWs and 2 AMGs in the top 7. And a second Porsche even for 8th. So there was a fair few marks there. The best Audi was 8th, but I think it was it the GT Italia guys in Nürburgring were doing a fantastic job on those medium tyres, running strong stints. So, not their best result there, actually, now I think about it, down in 10th, but as was pointed out before this lobby started, only a couple drivers aren't A+ rated, and Ramaz is one of them. That's not necessarily to say he's not a good driver, it's just not necessarily sport has been much of their focus. And of course, there is another lobby, so potentially GT Italia's best driver may not be in this lobby. We don't know. Also, we're not sure how much preparation they've had in terms of setup. A lot of guys are apparently putting setups on and then just ending up at the front anyway. So I'm not sure if I entirely believe Philo and Anatami. Actually, I believe Anatami. They were so quick at Nürburgring. If they said I haven't done a lap, I'd believe them, because being within touching distance was almost an impossibility at the Nürburgring until Dude's GTR stint at the end there to fight them off for the win That was probably the only time they looked beatable. And Mr. T wishes everyone good luck because we are about to begin the Monza Sprint Race 1. This is round 3 of the Endurance Racing Federation GT Challenge. For drivers' points only, not teams' points, but team entries are required. I'm pausing for any longer until the final can start. Here we go. Oh, Pastina wishing me the last pizza of his life. So long as, buddy, it's your favorite type of pizza, the pineapple pizza. Not pineapple on pizza, a pizza made entirely of pineapple. That's Pasta's favorite pizza, and if it's from you, buddy, I'll willingly accept it. Quickly change all the menu options. All right. Oh, and we've had a disconnect off the start. I don't know if that means we get an aborted start or not. We'll have to wait and see what Mr. T does as we fire up for the rolling start. Race control springing into action, and yes, straight away it's a restart, so everyone will have to leave the lobby. Leave the race, not leave the lobby, stay in the lobby, please. And I blame Pastina for invoking pizza, which is what has caused this lobby issue to occur. The lobby, of course, here, Italy, Monza, the Temple of Speed, was utterly offended by Pastina's favourite pizza for his crimes against his own culture. But, what can you do? It's a free world out there. It's a free country. He's allowed to do whatever he wants. He's allowed to have bad taste. But, we still like Pastina. He's still a good guy. It's some of his decisions, not so much, but he's still a good guy and we still like him. He's also still very fast. Regardless what kind of pizza he eats, he's still top 6. Anyway, I've just realised that the last car I drove is still on display, and that's the GTR LM Nismo with nearly 1,000 horsepower in very bright pink. That was a different organisation running a joke race where we took the infamous LMP1 prototype, added as much power to it, and then removed all the rules and had a lot of fun. Mr. T was there. I won't name things, so I won't try and get people to go join them, but Mr. T was there and he will agree that it was a good time. Who are we trying to... Okay, so it looks like we are currently trying to find out where the driver went, if it was a power outage, if it was a internet drop, seeing if the team manager can get a hold of him, because we are in a delayed start at this moment in time. So luckily I prepared some incredible facts, other than Pastina's favourite pizza. Apparently Philo is having a monster weekend in terms of what he's getting up to. So he's got, of course, the ERF GTC event here with qualifying in a 1-hour race. He has a JGTC series that he's doing. He's got a GT3 series he's doing, and he's also qualifying for a different Le Mans 24-hour race. So he's got a lot going on here, as it is Saturday night here in Australia, but of course, still Saturday afternoon. Saturday afternoon? Yeah, it's Saturday afternoon now in England. I thought for a second it might have been Saturday morning, but no, we need Tim Law to still get on track, I believe. Otherwise, I think I have everyone. Wait, where's Philo? Oh, wait, it's probably just... I have to scroll down, because there's more than 12 slots. So, we are waiting for Philo to join. We are waiting for our lost driver to return of Giri Techno. Yeast joking how it was a cracking race, and we'll see you in a few weeks for the next one. He's called that a bit early, because there is still another race to come this afternoon. I believe that starts in what was meant to be 90 minutes' time, but it could prove to be slightly delayed because this race will take an hour and they still have to get through a qualifying session, so potentially a little tight. But we will wait and see how that one all plays out. Yeast expressing what I would like to be doing right now in the Discord chat. If I could pull up the live stream, that would be a great idea, so I can actually interact with the chat while we wait, as opposed to trying to keep tabs on what's going on with race control. What have we got? Okay, so Gear Techno is actually in the YouTube chat, letting us know what's going on. His game crashed. He's trying to rejoin. It's just taking its time because when the game crashes, it has to put itself back together, make sure nothing's broken, and then it just runs slow for no reason for a little bit. And he's back in the lobby? Yes, he's back in the lobby. We see in the YouTube chat there that it is the DCT. DCT team is asking if I'm crazy about pineapple. DC team, he's your driver. I don't know why you're asking me why I'm crazy. You're gonna ask Pastina why he's crazy. I heard he also likes breaking pasta before he cooks it. That's what I heard. And Gear Techno back in the lobby. And as he says, vamos, let's go. I agree. Once everyone's in the pits, Mr. T has organized the grid positions again. We can once again try and start. So Gear Techno, need you to get on track, please, into the pits, and we will be able to restart. Yep, that is there for a reason, absolutely. All right, we have all drivers in the pits ready to go. I should probably be looking at them rather than... Oh, no one's driving. Dan. I came up with Dan. That's, yeah, okay, good effort, brain. Gets halfway between two options and pick neither. Great strats. This is what makes me an excellent race engineer, for the record. Not having... See, if the opposition don't know what my strategy is, I don't know what my opposite strategy is. They're just as confused as I am. It's just, you got to think about these things. And I guess you see in the corner there, a random point of note is with all the various events, there are required decals and positions and branding. For this event, we are running Hancooks. I believe at the Nürburgring it was Michelin's, whereas now we're on Hancooks. This lets us cook up those conspiracies where some people believe the tyre sticker changes the performance of the tyres in Gran Turismo. I'm pretty sure that's not the case, but I like a good conspiracy, and certain branding potentially makes the car quicker. But unfortunately, we're on a controlled tyre here, so it doesn't matter if your tyre is the fast tyre. Everyone's got the same amount of grip. The amount of performance everyone has should therefore be the same. Jaeger is being reminded that the graphic for the overlay needs to disappear just in case he's not able to see what's going on, as we look for Mr. T to restart the race, as I now realise that I have drunk far too much water in the last hour. So this is going to be a very long hour for me, hopefully not. So please everyone, put on a good show so I don't have to think about the terrible mistakes I've made in the last hour and a half. Waiting again for the countdown to start. Okay, that seems to have worked. I was not expecting that. Unless the spectator... No, the spectator camera appears to be working. Okay, good to know. Okay, sweet. Normally that glitches out. Oh no, don't tell me. Tell me Furicat is just asleep at the wheel. Oh, good. That was very reminiscent of the GT Sport glitch starts, where drivers would get stuck. Stuck on the grid and caused issues. But since 7, we haven't seen that for a while, actually. Anyway, we now go back to the leaders. And Jaeger does make a great point. Chill, everybody, it's under control. The Maestro is at work, as we see the Maestro behind the wheel warming up those medium tyres. Now that's another point of interesting note, with the different compounds between mediums and softs. It is important to have tyre temp down to turn 1. We saw at the Nürburgring medium tyre runners, because of the way the Nürburgring is and the way the driver swaps were, medium tyre runners took a couple of laps to get tyre temp up. So they were mugged, genuinely mugged by soft tyre runners early on in their stint. But after maybe one and a half laps, they got enough tyre temperature up to then start putting the pace in and fighting their opponents. So the current pole sitter is mediums. The next... No, sorry, I forgot Eric's is on... In the Porsche, he's on mediums. I was going to say, I thought the next 5 cars were all on softs. But 1 and 3 are on mediums. 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7 all on softs. So it looks like the Porsches are on mediums. The R8s are on mediums. But the McLarens are on softs. And 1 BMW at the front is on mediums. So the only front-engine rear-wheel drive car on mediums at this stage. Doing a lot of work here to wear out our sim racing equipment in order to keep temperature in the tyres, having to weave a lot. And as Mr. D points out, there is a minimum 2 car length gap as we go around on these formation laps. Those regs exist for safety car for various just general lag prevention measures, safety and avoid collisions under safety car, because for some reason people see safety cars and slow speed and decide, I need to be about 3 millimeters off this person's bumper bar and nothing can possibly go wrong. It's like driving down your average freeway, and now we know, based on who has to be warned about these things, who those drivers are. We can put names to those people. Anyway, we'll go back to the exterior camera for the start, with Anatami for GT Finlanders on pole position. MFT, I've been calling him MRT for so long, oh my lord. Speed Hunter for the TDR design. Arix Slim for Arix Racing. Tim Law with Clockwork Motorsport. Distinct Philo for TDR. And Liggy for... I don't have time, I'm just going to go back to the leaders. They're all bunching up. Oh, don't go in too hot, boys. There we go, the whole field is bunched, waiting on green flag. And Speed Hunter has gone early. That's a jump start, and Tim's gone with him because he couldn't see anything else. So we're going to wait. Have to hop back in to line. Looks like we got away with it. Picked the wrong start line by the look of things. And this is not a great spectator camera. There we go. So it looks like the Speed Hunter and Timlaw got really shuffled back there. So obviously we picked up the wrong start-finish line to go at, because of course it is the start line, not the finish line. As we see Arix getting the slipstream up on Anatami. He's gone around the outside of Curva Grande, up to the inside at the Della Roggia chicane, holding 5th gear all the way through, and he takes the inside line and he takes the lead off Anatami, and Philo gets the over and under through the Della Roggia up towards Lesmo 1. He's got the inside, there's no way he's conceding that. The BMW is good, but not that good, especially with those nice warm soft tyres. He'll have the advantage going up to Lesmo 2. And I think that's Groot in 4th. Groot's had a blinding start up from 8th. He's up to 4th, ahead of Pastina Calda. Timlaw, where's Speed Hunter? Who's sideways in the background? Oh, it's all gone wrong. So Speed Hunter has fallen off the road, or been taken off the road in there, so, and it's Furicat off the back, and Lugie's down in 12th as well. So the Lexus, the AMG, they've both gone backwards. Ovich is now up into 11th. Yeast hanging onto the back of the train in the McLaren. Giratechno up into 9th. Hide 8th. So Ramaz in 7th, as we see Pastina making a lunge here on Groot down into Parabolica to end the first lap. And he's successful. Timlaw will probably go with him, but I'll just check back in on the leaders, because as expected, Philo has got a run here. Speed Hunter with mechanical damage. No, I don't think there are safety cars. There's only VSC or full course caution, I think. So he will not be able to make that time back up with the lap 1 incident that I did not catch because I'm too busy watching the racing. Philo going around the outside into the first chicane, and he's done it. Holy moly, great driving from Arix to let him do it. Not make any crazy moves, so these guys are clearly better than those Verstappen and Hamilton chaps in Formula 1. Although Philo there, there's a bit of overlap and he thought he'd cover. So as Arix, I'd be a little bit unimpressed with that, but the Porsche has got the straight line speed. He will come back and attack Philo here for the lead on the outside of Della Roggia, but there's no way he's going to get it done. He sets himself up for a better exit, but it's not going to be enough. Although Philo with a bit of a wobble, this race definitely not over if Philo is going to wear those tyres out, and Arix on the lovely, nice and slow to degrade mediums has a chance to get it back later. But looking at that, Philo's got a lot more grip here in the high-speed corners and is able to pull away in the Lesmos, but he will still be giving off slipstream to the medium shod Arix and Anatami. Now, will Anatami pass him or will he work with him? He's kind of pulled out. He's done neither of the two and then lifts off early. Could have given Arix a nice little bump draft there because Arix looks very quick in a straight line in that Porsche. Excuse me. And he's able to really run down Philo there. Gets a great launch out of Ascari down to Parabolica. So he can almost make a lunge here, but does he need to with the straight line speed? He actually has to make a move. Goes to the inside. He can afford to do a block pass here on Philo. Big slide. And Anatami's, where is he? Gone with him. And Arix is now a Finnish driver tag. I don't remember that being the case, but could be wrong. And it looks like with the slipstream, the AMG is good enough to fight back, and he left that move very late. Ended up bump drafting Arix. So it looks like if you're in that front group, it is a slipstream battle because no one has an absolute advantage to try and make overtakes with. So you're just going to stay in the draft. So the top three have broken away by that metric, with Pastina and Tim, the next group. Tim just hanging on to the back of Pastina. Potentially, if they work together, if the guys at the front begin to fight, they can make it a five-way fight here. But it's already that huge super pack of 7 cars that were very, very close is down to a 3, a 2, and the rest of the field. With Ramaz up in 6, he's made a really good start. With Giri Techno and Groot, who was up in 4th, faltering back to 8th place, but that was where he qualified, so overall he's not lost out too much ground. Yeah, Philo looks very comfortable in the Lesmos compared to Arix Slim. Even though he was in the dirty air, he did not lose any ground, whereas the previous lap Arix did lose ground in there. However, on the straight, Philo not really gaining at all compared to Arix, who was basically a train. Once he got a little bit of head of steam up, there was no stopping him. Excuse me, sorry. Ooh. Yeah, you can see that even though he's in the slipstream, Philo's actually losing a little bit of ground here, but as the speed increases, expect to see the slipstream become more potent. I wonder if Arix is being very clever and pulling 6th gear to save fuel when he's not making a move, when he's not fighting for position. Because that 5th gear looked very long the previous time we saw him. It was up near 250 kilometers an hour. That's a 47.9 on full tanks. That is a very impressive lap time. Granted, it's a second off pole position, but they are not driving clean racing lines. They are actively fighting. Anatami with the dive? No! It looked like he pulled out, was braking later than Philo, but was able to pull it up and stay in 3rd place. With Arix now fastest man on track, pulling the top 3 along. But Pastina, 1.8 back, hasn't really lost ground, and Tim has gained 2/10 in the slipstream. Go back to Ramaz, he's with Gira Techno. The Audis are working together here with Groot. Oh, his Groot's pulling out of the slipstream, but Gira Techno pulling out on the outside of Curve Grande, inside of Del Roggia. Will he get it done? No, Ramaz tries to fight him round the outside. They go wheel to wheel, making contact. Ramaz is pushed off, and then Groot unable to get the run there from being 1 second back, but he's now joined on them. It's 3 cars within a couple of tenths. Eastern Heat 8, bit of clearance. Ovic, nothing really doing. Furicat, no gap. Lugi is no damage, just lost a lot of ground in those first couple of laps. And Speed Hunter, who has now, I believe, taken a pit stop, now doing a 48.1, so he's very quick, just unfortunately 29 seconds off the lead, and it does not count for his mandatory pit stop. So we go back to the leaders. Arix has made a mistake because he's no longer in the lead. And Anatami's passing him for 2nd place. Philo has broken away here, but without the slipstream, he will find these guys catch him relatively quickly, because I believe Arix is absolutely the quicker car in a straight line of the 3, at least at the Nürburgring. That BMW was struggling in a straight line compared to its rivals, but it was very quick in the corners, and I think I saw Pastina and Tim side by side through Parabolica there. Now, if Anatami's going to play it smart here, he's going to bump draft Arix up towards Philo, because they cannot afford to let him go. And it looks like, yeah, Anatami's learning that he has not got the straight line speed, but he's going to make a dive, is he? Same thing he did with Philo the lap before, But both guys just hit their marks absolutely perfectly, and Anatami's unable to sneak through. But if Anatami finds himself up under Arix, he needs to bump draft him to get him back onto the slipstream of Philo, because if they lose the slipstream to Philo and Philo has clean air while they're fighting, there is no chance of beating him. It is much easier to work with your an ally to catch your opponent than it is to do it solo. And we can see there that it was 1.4 on the main straight. It's down to 1.1. So Arix is absolutely quicker than Philo in a straight line. So it's up to Anatami to, instead of trying to fight his way past and then hold Arix up, to just go with him and then beat him cleanly in the race to pass Philo. So once you arrive on Philo, that's when you try and pass Arix to try and sneak your way up into position. And we see Tim tucking in on Pastina Calder, who's up into 4th place, 1.6 seconds back. So they haven't really gained. If anything, they've lost out because Philo has pulled away at the front. As we see, Arix is 4/10 purple. Oh, sorry, 4/10 up on himself and he's purple, but he's only 6,000 behind Philo's lap. So it's a good-looking lap from him. It's not a slow lap from Philo either, but it's still not as quick as what Arix is doing. So Anatami needs to put the bump draft in on Arix, but he's going to pull out and make a move into Parabolica. No, he's just being a nuisance, really, moving around in the braking zones instead of focusing on getting up to Philo. He wants to do it himself instead of doing it as a team, and it's going to cost him because that gap is 1.2 seconds. It's the fastest lap for Arix. Oh, Tim Small off the back of Pastina there, but it's only 2/10 they've gained on that lap, and he's pulled out and found that he hasn't got the straight line speed still. He'll have to go around the outside at the first chicane, and is unable to stay there for the second part of the chicane. Then goes a little bit wide, gets a wobble. And Anatami, not used to playing with others apparently, struggling here to get past the very slippery Porsche, which it was, of course, at Nürburgring. Pastina still 1.6 back, but I suspect Pastina and Tim have not got the pace of these top three with the way the slipstream is playing out, because they are losing ground while these guys are fighting and making moves. Philo, sorry, wrong position. Philo back to 1.4, so he's pulling away now. We see the DRS detection styrofoam board get kicked out of the way there by Philo. Don't think it was on his screen, because those things do act weird. And Anatami now going to the inside at Ascari, but again, Arix just holds his line, hits his marks, and refuses to be flustered, but he's lost 4/10 to Philo on this lap. Anatami is now feeling more than ever that he just has to get by if he wants to try and make a move, and great, he's going to go up the inside here into Parabolica, but Arix will be straight back past him down the front straight, so I'm not sure why he isn't just working with the Porsche driver and bump drafting him in order to try and catch Philo, but now they're 2 seconds off the lead, and I expect Arix to just come sailing straight back past. He's got the run, overspeed, come on, oh, he's actually lifted there, trying not to give up the position. He wants Anatami to tow him. So he's decided that if Anatami thinks he's quicker, go ahead, son, pull me towards Philo. And he had too much overspeed, I think, for a bump draft, to be quite honest with you. As Pastina and Tim hook back up again. They're only 1.3 seconds apart. And Arix now stuck in behind Anatami, starting to push him. Get on with it, son. If you're going to be quicker in the corners, that suits me. But it would have been easier to just push the car that's already quick in a straight line to more speed. Oh, big slide there out of Della Roggia. That's going to cost him. He needs to stay in touch with Anatami here through Lesmo 1 and 2. Otherwise, he loses that slipstream, and that's going to really hurt him in his pursuit of Philo. We see Tim is now right on the back of Pastina Caldo in the background there for 4th and 5th place. And I think Arix is just still in the slipstream. But that Porsche is so slippery, he will gain. He absolutely is gaining. He's still alive there. And I think I see Pastina defending versus Tim. And I think Tim's very confused there, because Tim is absolutely the type of guy to say, no, let's just catch the guys ahead. We're not fighting to the death yet. It's lap 8. We've still got 25 laps, mate. Just focus on catching the guys ahead while they're trying to sort themselves out. Anatami now falling out of the slipstream, I believe. Sorry, catching Philo, pulling out of the slipstream versus Arix. And remember that the second and third place cars are on mediums. They have a better degradation in theory than Philo. And Philo now going narrow off the final corner. He's realised that he needs to be as efficient as possible, but his lead has come down from 2 seconds. He's done a 47.7, then a 48.8. Anatami with that 47.3, fastest lap of the race. It would have put him 7th in qualifying, but that's still very impressive. But the quickest car on track is MFT Speed Hunter. Unfortunately, who is up the back there after that early damage and pit stop. But Anatami now has broken between Eric Slim and Distinct Philo. He has so much more pace. And in the background, Timlaw has disposed of Pastina Calder, snuck by at the first chicane. But Pastina will absolutely be getting a slipstream and will be able to stick with him. No questions about that. He's too good to just fall away after getting past here. There's too much slipstream on offer. Unless Tim has some sort of pace that I am entirely unaware of to try and catch the leaders. He's 2 seconds away from Arix, so maybe he can catch Arix, who's fallen off the back, unless Anatami can catch Philo and get those two to fight. But I would be very surprised if Philo is able to get sucked into that fight, because he knows that the fastest car on track is the one that's directly behind him. The second he loses that fight, I think he decides to work with Anatami, who will pull him clear to a comfy second place, unless he does something silly, or unless the guys behind have a little bit more pace later in the stint with potentially better tyre wear compared to him on his softs. Oh, Anatami, though, runs wide at the exit of Ascari. Got to be careful to not get penalties doing that, as track limits will be enforced by stewards. I'm not sure how many warnings, how many regulations, but the rules are the white lines are track limits. You must have two tyres between... Two tyres? Yeah, 2 tyres between the white lines, I think it was said, not 4, because 4 would be crazy, which means you can't use curbs technically. And the gap now 1.5 seconds after that big slide. He lost 7 tenths to himself, and Philo puts down a PB with a 47.697, which is basically a 47.7. Arix with 48.0, unable to improve. 48.2 for Tim, but he's broken the slipstream of Pastina Calder, whose best lap is actually 3 tenths slower. So Tim here, if he can keep this up, might actually lock away Pastina from the top 4. And that would be quite tragic for him here at his home race. The whole DC team, I think all of them are Italian, or at least predominantly Italian, so if them finishing 5th, it would sound like a terrible result for them, but when you realise the guys in front are genuinely alien quality, that's not the worst result in the world. So we'll ride on board here with Anatami, just to see what he's doing and how he's doing it. Oh, I had myself muted. Apologies. Where did I go? Nowhere. I just bumped the mute button because I'm very special. But anyway, what I was saying was the way the M6 moves, the way the fins have got this M6 hooked up, it appears to just rotate to the apex better than you would expect it to. They were explaining how to trail brake the car, you can't really be on the brake to get it to actually rotate. But it looks like they carry more brake than you'd expect to achieve that. So I'm not entirely sure how they're doing it, but they're doing it well. And it's a 47.4 on that lap. And he's now right on the back of Philo. With a huge run there, a massive top speed advantage with a big slipstream all the way down the front straight. I wonder if it's tyre wear. Not really. Philo's rears are cooking, but that's about right for Philo because he loves to just crack a bunch of rear spring on to make the thing rotate when it's understeering. But you can do that when you're on a pad. When you've got a steering wheel, it's a little bit harder to catch the oversteer. And as we can see, Anatami now all over Philo. So MFT Speed Hunter, the quickest car on track still with the fastest lap. His teammate Philo at the front with, 2 lap less fresh tyres is struggling by comparison. Speed Hunter, of course, out-qualified Philo here, but I'm surprised that Philo's struggling this much. And I say that, he's still leading, he's still pulling away from the rest of the field, just Anatami's catching him at a rate that makes him look like it is easy. But Philo gets off the second Lesmo quite well and is able to hold on. It's only at the very end of the straight it looks like the slipstream is really kicking in and bringing Anatami towards Philo. So the Finns have figured out how to solve their straight line deficit relative to the entire grid, unable to necessarily be ahead of Arix in the Porsche, but compared to the rest of the grid, they're no longer looking nearly as weak as they were at Nürburgring, which was the compromise, obviously, they had to make to try and make the car quicker over a lap, which, when they were in clean air, was fantastic, but after a safety car and getting shuffled, it wasn't necessarily the greatest play for them, but it didn't matter, they were so quick for most of that race, it ended up not going their way, but that's just how endurance racing goes sometimes. As we see, again, a huge run. The gap comes down dramatically at the end of the straight. Oops, wrong buttons. Sorry there, and he goes to the inside, but Philo will hold on around the outside to get the inside here at the first chicane, and that will leave him enough room to take the exit and lead again up through Curva Grande, but it's not over by a long shot. There will be another braking duel here into the Del Roggi chicane, because there's no way Anatami doesn't get close enough to potentially send a lunge, forcing Philo to block. Philo has to block, and then because he moves twice, he can't defend a third time, but Anatami unable to make a lunge. I was going to say I would expect Philo to make a block, and Anatami there looking like he was going to send out an absolute dive bomb to the left-hand side, just as Philo decided he wasn't interested, but they must have done it in close enough succession that it seemed like a bad idea. And because of all that, Arix has caught up. He's now back in the slipstream, and Tim is only 2 seconds back, so Tim is not far from joining this fight either. So if the front two can fight for a little bit longer, Arix will then tow Timlaw in to make it a four-way fight. So it's TDR Design in first, GT Finlanders in second, although not a great run up there for the Arix car. And then Clockwork Motorsport third, and then DC Team in fifth. I'm sorry to everyone behind, I've been sort of waiting for this to just happen and not really keeping tabs on the guys in 6th and below with Gira Techno and Ramaz in 6th and 7th. Yeast has taken 8th off Groot, and I'll have to check in on that once we're done here, as once again, Anatami hooks into the slipstream of Distinct Philo. Will Philo stay to the inside? Will he go to the outside? It looks like he's letting Anatami take the inside. Going to try and outbrake him clean on the racing line again, but I don't think he's going to get away with it. Anatami is too far up this time. And now they go wheel to wheel. Philo taking the Pastor Maldonado line. Gets away with it by not hopping over the curb, but Anatami gets the run on both of them. Arix gets the run on both of them and slips through into the lead by not having to fight them. He was able to get a clean run through the chicane and then get a great exit and clean them all up. It surprised me because I was too busy watching this race and I'm not going to a replay. Anatami gets back on Philo and slots in underneath Arix, but Timlaw has arrived. Pastina's too far back for the moment, but if these guys keep fighting, he will join in, as will Gira Techno later on. So it's up to these top guys to not fight too hard. So I would have absolutely expecting Philo to not fight Anatami and just work with him to pull away to a safe second place. But he's decided he's going to fight Anatami to the death, and now that means he's at risk of falling all the way to 4th here with the arrival of Timlaw. And it also means that Anatami will have to pass Arix again if he wants to lead this race. He had to fight him for 3 or 4 laps to get up into 2nd to try and chase down Philo. Now he's going to have to do it again if he wants to lead. He did it well enough to break the slipstream of Arix. Maybe Arix made a small mistake and I didn't catch it, which let Anatami take the lead. But Arix, not interested, taking the inside line into Parabolica. I let you through once, I'm not letting you through now. This is for the lead, son. Oh, beautiful over and under there from Anatami. That is lovely racing. Oh, top quality stuff. I thought Philo ran wide off the final corner and might have dirty tyres, but that Porsche is just too quick in the slipstream. Speed Hunter with a 46.9 that we're not seeing right now because it's 4 for the lead. Anatami unable to get the job done. Philo now with a bit of slipstream, masking the weakness of that AMG, is now able to run the same pace as the leading group. Arix with a 48.5. Anatami was slow, obviously, so was Philo. But Tim, a 48.3 on the back of a 47.3 for his best lap. Philo there pushing Anatami towards Arix. It's lap 15. The compulsory pit stop window, I believe, is now open at the end of this lap. We see Tim getting a good run through the chicane. He's almost got a run here to take Philo on because Philo's made a small mistake through Della Roggi into Lesmo 1, but he thinks better of it because he knows Pastina Calda is too close to start playing games, and there's no point taking Philo for 3rd if it means losing the slipstream for the lead. They're still 5/10 back. Anatami will have another crack at Arix Slim, and we can see blue flags for a car up ahead. They need to get out of the way on the next straight. We'll check in who it is in a moment. But looking good here. Arix able to hold off Anatami for the moment, but Anatami unquestionably the quickest car on track. It is Furicat. He's got damage. Oh, that's unfortunate. As we see Anatami once again getting the run out of the first Lesmo and goes to the outside at Parabolica, but he won't be able to get it. No, Arix does let him through, or at least he was slow enough to be beaten cleanly on the way into Parabolica. However, they all fire up the slingshot. And Furicat now comes to the pits to repair that damage. So let's say very recent turn of events. Anatami at 47.8, not a bad lap at all. But Arix will be coming and he'll be bringing Philo with him. It looks like Timlaw in that M6 hasn't got the same straight line as his counterpart, Finnish counterpart. But Anatami thought that was an overtake on him. No, it wasn't. It was an overtake on Arix. Philo getting the run on Arix and then makes the dive on those soft compound tyres, giving him more performance in the braking zone. So the difference between the two M6s here in 1st and 4th is one is on mediums, one is on softs, and it would appear the medium shod car is the quicker of the two, as once again Anatami goes back to the lead, and Philo, after being displaced, finds himself back up into 2nd, so potentially the 2nd quickest car, and following Anatami, but unfortunately with 2 Tagger-ons in the background coming with him. And we saw that Anatami was able to drop Arix out of his slipstream previously, so Arix and Timlaw might end up fighting here for 3rd place if they cannot keep up, and it looks like Arix is out of the slipstream, or just on the edge of it I should say, being pulled along from Philo, but he's only a 10th up on Timlaw, and Timlaw losing ground in a straight line relative to Arix, unable to keep up. Oops. Unable to keep up in the slipstream. Not ideal for him, so the Clockwork boys need to find some straight line speed if they want to be able to have any combat potential. And Pastina just hanging on in there. Just a quick look back, he's 3.5 seconds down. So he's not completely out of it. But remember, we still have mandatory pit stops to get through, and when they are taken, may decide what happens. And Arix is in! Well, well, well. That's a decision. Well, it looks like they have enough fuel. There's not a move for the lead. Just have a look. What do they do here? So tyre change is mandatory. No fuel. Worth noting. And Arix comes back out in somewhere I'll quickly take this moment to quickly cycle through. So Ramaz doing a great job in the GT Italia car, up into 6th place, and holding it quite comfortably too. He will be 7th once Eric's pits again. Yeast GT in the McLaren is 4.6 seconds clear of Speed Hunter, who has made up a pit stop on most of these guys to get himself back into the top 10. He will continue charging forward. He's doing great pace here in that AMG. He's just cleared Hide, who I believe is still on his original pit stop, having not made his mandatory stop. AXR Group for the Equipex Racing team has just made his compulsory pit stop at the end of the 16th lap, which puts him slightly ahead of Luigi. He's on PS, who has also made his pit stop, trying to fight his way back, same as Speed Hunter, just not as quick. He's doing high 47s instead of low 47s, but he's doing a great job there. Having just cleared Ovic, who's made his personal best. He's down to the 49s. He's cleared the 51s and 50s, doing a great job as the stint goes on. And unfortunately, for a cat, appears to be auto driving? No, he must have done something for a second there. Oh no, maybe. I'm not sure what's going on there. It looks like it's auto driving every corner. That's very strange. But he's just made a pit stop, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Back to the lead. So Philo hanging on to Anatami. Tim Law is getting dropped. He's now 1.3 seconds down with no slipstream to pull him along. But he has clean air, so maybe that's what he wants. As we see Pastina Calder come in. He's got plenty of fuel in hand, but will he take tyres? We'll keep an eye on that one. Doesn't look like Philo had enough pace to get the run, and sure enough, he does not. So, Anatami holding on at the front. Done it. Looked like Pastina didn't take tyres. Someone let the DC team know that you have to take tyres. Because I'm pretty sure the compulsory pit stop requires you to take tyres. So, Pastina is now closer, I guess, to Arix, but yeah, you have to take tyres. Unless I was looking at the wrong car. No, Pastina did not take tyres. Or fuel. Who also pitted? I can't remember. Who also came in? Oh, it was Ramaz, and Ramaz is taking tyres. And once again, we see Philo hanging onto the back of Anatami. He's almost quick enough to get a run here. He's close, but not quite enough straight line. Tim Law in the background has now dropped from 1.0 to 1.8. He does not have the incredible pace of Anatami at the front, who is unquestionably towing Philo along. With the rate at which Anatami ran Philo down, excuse me, Anatami's the quicker car, but now that he's in front, he's giving off a nice big slipstream for Philo, and that is allowing, oh geez, I thought Tim Law had crashed because he was suddenly knocked the shot there. And yeah, it's 47.0 for Anatami, and it'll be a 46.9 for Philo because he's got the best slipstream in front of him from the fastest car, and Tim will have done a 47.5. There's nothing wrong with a 47.5, it's just not slipstream assisted. The question, of course, will be what Arix Slim is doing, because Tim Law and Arix will be having no fight. Oh, Anatami makes a mistake out of the first chicane, which I can't remember the name of. But Philo gets around the outside, has a run. Can he hang on? No, he's not quick enough, or he's decided to lift off. I wasn't looking at the telemetry to see if that was a decision to stay behind, because he knows now, as I was saying before, that if he just hangs out behind Anatami will tow him, basically, to the podium for a comfortable position too, and he will only lose 5 points in this race. I believe it's 1 point pole position, 1 point fastest lap. Anatami has pole position, and Philo currently has fastest lap, so between them it'll be a 5 point gap, and Philo will barely lose any margin to anyone, frankly. He'll gain on the people whoever's second. I believe it's not Anatami, so he will gain on second place, and only Anatami will take a mere 5 points off him, and he's got both race wins, I think, so he's got a huge lead in the championship. He's only 3 points off maximum result because he didn't get pole position and didn't get fastest lap somewhere. I think that's all he's missed. So he's had a great season so far for the year 2024. But Philo falling back there meant that Tim Law only 1.6 now, but the net gain from Tim Law to Anatami is that Tim Law's falling away here. Not as bad on this lap, which suggests that Anatami's made a mistake as well to not have gained. And these guys, I think, are all just going to stay out until Anatami pits, practically. I think that's the game plan, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's 47.4 for Anatami. Filo lost a bit more ground, and Tim puts in his third 47.5 in a row. 6.3, 8.6, 6.8. That is so good. Maybe the tune isn't as good as Anatami. He's not as flashy as Anatami, but doing something like 3 laps in a row at Monza within 200ths of a second, that is pure class. It's not flashy, but it's talent and it's skill. Just checking in there as Pastina... Oh, he has made his pit stop, but not made his pit stop, which is very strange. We'll have to see if that was a different on his replay or not. But he's now 4 seconds behind Eric Slim, who is 19 seconds off the lead, and he did 47.5, which is his personal best. So the new tyres are providing undercut because no one's taking fuel. So because no fuel is required in the pit stop, a fresh set of tyres is allowing these drivers to go faster in this phase of the race because their cars still weigh the same. So the people who came in early are indeed getting a benefit over those who have run long. However, those who have run this long will now have fresher tyres for the second half, but I suspect Eric Slim is going to come out with the leaders, or at least ahead of Tim Law, because Tim Law's consistent 47.5s are not going to be enough to match Eric's when he gets... Oh, does Philo get a track limit penalty, or does he hang on there by being on the AstroTurf? No, maybe it was just game lag and he was on the curb still, because normally you get a big wheel spin there. And Philo's fallen out of slipstream from Anatami, but he's still pulled 2/10 on Tim Law on this lap, so it's not a bad lap from him, but it's not ideal. And Anatami comes in, Philo goes straight with him. Tim Law will continue on and lead, and it looks like Philo with far less fuel than Anatami. Anatami is doing 47s and 46.9s, and he's got half a tank of fuel after 20 laps. He's got 40 laps of fuel. Oh no, and they haven't taken tyres either. Oh, this is going to go to post-race. No, no, no. Philo hasn't taken tyres either. Is my game lying to me? It looked like they've just stopped and gone. But they're 5 seconds ahead of Eric's, who definitely took tyres. I think guys aren't taking tyres. They haven't read the regs. It's a mandatory pit stop, and it's a mandatory 4-tyre pit stop. In Fiat Supercars, we have what we call a compulsory pit stop, and there are requirements for the compulsory pit stop. Failure to meet those requirements means that you have not you have not conducted a compulsory pit stop. So in this race, it is a requirement to change tyres. These guys will mandate 2 or 4 depending on what's going on, but these guys have not taken tyres, and that's why the pit delta is so low for these guys, and they've got a huge lead over Eric's, who's pulling away from Pastina. Oh no, Pastina's got damage! Pastina's got damage! A front aero, right wheel. So if he comes in and gets tyres, he will not be disqualified post-race. This is a huge moment for Pastina Carla. If the DCT team tell him to take tyres, he won't be disqualified post-race. He'll end up on the podium potentially. He is quick enough to fight his way back against the guys around him. So Gira Techno has taken his pit stop. Ramaz has taken his pit stop, but Pastina is quick enough to potentially race those guys down and fight back for the podium. At the moment, it's Eric Slim who's going to win this race because our current leaders have to stop again. And they've only got 1 more lap to do it, and Tim Law's come in with even more fuel than Anatami. How's he done that? As Philo goes around the outside of Anatami in Parabolica, I'm too busy being amazed at how these guys are making 40-something laps of fuel. Like, what? And Tim Law comes back out. Did he take tyres? Yes, he took tyres. All right. So Tim Law, the new leader, wants these guys come in again or receive penalties. And frankly, the penalty cannot be the time of a pit stop because for the changing tyres, because they have gained a track position advantage that they will not cede, having not taken that. So it means they're not fighting other people, they're fighting each other, and that's their choice. But I suspect with post-race penalties involved, these two will not be your eventual leaders. I don't know what the penalty is, but normally failure to take a compulsory pit stop is a disqualification. And that's very impressive because Philo is driving for the TDR design car, and that is the unofficial car of the Endurance Racing Federation. So the home team, quote-unquote, has missed a very important rule on taking tyres. It's very strange though, because Tim Law was about that far back, I guess. So I thought tyres took about 4 seconds. So maybe I'm overblowing this, but yeah, I'll have to ask Mr. T what's going on in terms of if he's seeing the same tyre wear I am, which would imply that these guys haven't taken tyres and haven't completed their compulsory pit stops as we come to the end of lap 22, which is the end of the compulsory pit stop window. This is the last chance to make your compulsory pit stop. It's between laps 15 and 22. Philo now in the lead, having passed Anatami here, so somehow his soft tyres are hanging on better than Anatami's, as they do 48.1 and 48.2. Tim Law will not have a lap time registered because it's because he's only just out of the pits. Oh, they've gone wide, and Philo gets reset. Philo went around decided to fend around the outside of Anatami and has ended up getting reset after being forced out over the curbs. And I would expect him to fight back immediately on Tim Law and attempt to try and get back towards the lead, but he's now in real trouble. So even if he's not disqualified, any penalty will see him falling backwards behind these guys at the very least. And Anatami not slowing up, so he feels like it was a racing incident. They look very side by side, I'll be very honest with you. So if excuse me, if Philo is quick, he will likely pull these guys along. But this is not what Tim Law and Arix needed, because they're now fighting a guy who is absolutely under question as to whether or not he is in position. Mr. T announcing that all the cars that we're seeing that still have massive tyre wear, looks like they will be investigated after the race as to whether or not they have made an technical infringement by not taking tyres and not making the compulsory pit stop in the compulsory pit stop window, which generally is a disqualifiable offence. Whether it is in the ERF, we'll find out. So, not sure, to be honest with you, but in every series I know, failure to do so is a disqualifiable offence. And Tim Law, I'm not sure what he was doing there, if he was defending or attacking. Sort of just went to the inside for no reason there. And now Arix has the slipstream on it. Now, worth remembering, Arix is the quickest car in a straight line of this group of cars. So the fight between himself and Tim Law is, I believe, for the win. And as such, that is the lead. And he's now going to get a run on Philo. 2-for-1 deal. Can he get to Philo to be reset again? So Tim Law finding Philo to fight has actually just cost him, because he was sort of hanging on there to being able to stay ahead of Arix, and now he's going to have to try and find a way past Arix. Arix with 47.5, Tim 48.6 there by being overtaken. But yeah, I think on raw pace, Tim Law has more pace than Arix, but unfortunately for Tim, in terms of combat potential, that Porsche is very quick in a straight line. I'm trying to think, do I hang out here? Because as much as Philo is fighting these two, I don't think they're fighting them for the result. But it's currently a fight between Arix and Tim. Oh, Tim getting a much better run, so those soft tyres are in fantastic nick for him in the Lesmos. But he's got so much fuel on board that he's actually way heavier than he needs to be. They need to burn fuel in that BMW just to make it lighter so he can run the car quicker. And Speed Hunter now with a 46.8, a new personal best and fastest lap, taking points off his teammate Tina Philo, and it looks like it's clouding over, but I don't think rain is possible here. So it could just be getting cloudier. Arix does, of course, have a slipstream, but Tim Law losing ground in the slipstream, but Arix, of course, had a slipstream there from Philo. But yeah, Tim looking a lot quicker here in the high-speed corners because of that tyre advantage. He just doesn't have the advantage down the straight. And that's the beauty of taking those medium tyres. You give a little bit away in the corners, but it gives you back significant performance down the straights, and they're able to run that Porsche very quick. And now, despite being under threat from Tim Law, gets the run on Philo. Tim doesn't need to get involved and get himself a penalty for running into cars that should not be there. Oh, and Arix makes contact with Philo because Philo fights back on the outside. Tim Law's able to sneak through, but unfortunately for him, not able to get around the outside of Philo and is now hooked into the slipstream. But remember, Arix is the quickest car in a straight line, so he will be able to pull out of the slipstream and make a move on Tim Law. It's about to be 3 wide here into the De La Rochia chicane. Tim up the inside of Philo. And then Philo fights him around the outside. I don't think Philo knows that he's not in this fight. And he's just causing drama to cause drama, to be honest with you. Tim able to hang around the outside there and slot back in quite nicely. That's convenient. So, unfortunately, though, Anatami is pulling away from them in the lead. Yeah. So this is an awkward one because Philo is absolutely involved himself in the battle for the lead. And even with a slipstream, Tim Law is cleanly passed by Arix down the straight into the Ascari chicane. So Tim's going to have to do something very different to find a way to clear Arix and stay ahead of him. Because that Porsche is so good in a straight line compared to the Clockwork Motorsport car. And Philo obviously ran wide there trying to clean up his tyres down into Parabolica, but I don't think it's going to matter because you'll find Arix is up the inside. And he's going to try and hold it round the outside, but enjoy being off the road. And Philo finds himself third in the queue now. Arix now in the head of that queue, but the queue cars behind will have a slipstream. At some point, Tim will have to pull out, and Philo will go with him. But he doesn't have enough straight line. Philo's going to pull out. There goes Tim to the outside. Can he push him along? Oh no, Philo, don't make it 3 wide, son. What are you doing? That's just silly. Please get reset. Yes, good. Right, bugger off. Oh, and then Arix has put it on the gravel. Might have been pushed there, but it was side by side. It looked all fair in love and war. But Philo trying for the kamikaze 3 wide move, gets himself reset. Tim Law and Arix side by side there, and Arix just getting to the gravel and then spins. So, the wash of all that is that Anatami leads. We believe he did not make his compulsory pit stop legitimately, which means, yeah, we'll figure out what the penalty is, whether it's the pit lane penalty or it's disqualification. Tim Law is now in second place, 2 seconds ahead of Philo, who has worse tyres because he did not take tyres and is also under investigation for not following the procedure. Arix, who is now fourth, who is now fourth but has completed his pit stops. In fifth, but potentially third, is Gira Techno in the, is that the GT Italia team? Camera, please. Hi, hello. No, it's not. I apologise. I'm not sure which team that is. I have made an error. It is the Tavernello Racing R8 LMS, so apologise to Gira Techno there and the Tavernello squad. I believe they ran... Oh, I can't remember if they ran softs or not at Nürburgring. I can't remember which Italian R8 team, because there were 2, because the GT Italia squad is the different one. So Tavernello up in 5th place, potentially in 3rd, with post-race investigations to occur. Pastina hanging on with damage to the front wing, so front splitter and right front tyre. He's still in 6th, but he did not pit for the compulsory pit stop, and now we see Speed Hunter in because he has damage. It looks like he has a 156 on lap 18, which means he did make a pit stop in the compulsory pit stop window, but it's only front splitter damage? I feel like he could have continued. But the gap behind him? No, he's lost track position to do it. He's got 6 laps to make it back up, because he was up with Ramaz in the GT Italia car. So I'm not sure what he's done there. Anyway, Lugi is on PS. Looks like he's got a little bit of degradation. I don't think that's... I do not believe that... Sorry, I believe he made a pit stop. Sorry, I got myself all wrapped up and confused. Yep. So Lugi, who qualified very strongly, did a great job earlier on, unfortunately caught up in a lap 1 incident, has been working his way back up to the front, and he's a chance of catching. There's 6 laps left, and he's a second lap quicker than Ramaz in front of him, who is quicker than Pastina ahead of him because he has damage. So 7th, 5th, and 4th, sorry, 5th, 6th, and 7th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, good lord, I'm so sorry, are coming together here, and there's a chance that could be a fight. And I don't know if Lugi can join... No, Lugi, sorry, it's 6th, 7th, 8th, bloody hell, I'm losing my mind here. It looks like he's only just cleared Yeast, who with his pit stop in lap 18, end of lap 18, has got basically no tyre wear going for him. That McLaren is hooked up lovely over the long run, but he's only 1.9 seconds ahead of AXR Groot, who's put down some couple really good laps to close back in on him and also pull away from Hide behind him, who I believe they were fighting on the previous lap because they've both set really good lap times. The gap between them is about 2 seconds, and he lost 2 seconds on the previous lap, Hide. But he is now only 2.7 seconds ahead of MFT Speed Hunter for the second TDR design car, which I believe did make a compulsory pit stop at the end of lap 18. So he'll have made 3 stops in this race after a lap 1 incident, damage just then, and his actual compulsory pit stops, which is the unfortunate part of the compulsory pit stop window. Means that if you have a damaged pit stop before lap 15, it doesn't count. You still have to make another one. So it's not like you can get damage on lap 2, take the pit stop, and then try and carry those tyres all the way through the race to try and get back into that race. And he is now ahead of GTMA Ovic, who I can't really tell from the timing chart when he made a pit stop, if at all, because the red and blue things don't really show up properly. GWK Furicat is now getting blue flags for Yeast, and he pulls over to jump out of the way of the entire midfield. I think that's 9th place, yep. I'll just keep an eye if... Looks like Lugi's not going to catch Ramaz, but it looks like Ramaz will catch Pastina. Let's check back in with Tim. Tim has not lost ground to Philo just yet, but he hasn't been able to catch Anatami as he does yet another 47.4. So his 47.5s has become 47.4s, ladies and gentlemen. These guys are so good. We'll check in on Anatami. Let's see what his lap time consistency looks like. Ooh, a 4, a 1, and a 2. Oh, that's far too much spread for him. He'll be very upset with himself with 2/10 of spread. Like, it's incredible how good the guys at the front are. They are so quick and so consistent, and that consistency is what makes them hard to beat. Not their outright speed, because anyone, as we can see, Speed Hunter has matched Anatami's best lap. He is the quickest man on the track. Unfortunately, he's made 2 damaged pit stops, and as a result, is way down the back at the moment compared to where he should be, because he was very quick in qualifying. He's been very quick this race, but unfortunately, that lap 1 incident, which I missed in all the chaos, and didn't think to rewind because it was just too much happening at the front still, it just meant that his race was compromised from the square one. And we see Pastina now has been caught by Ramaz in the GT Italia car. Will Lugi be able to join them? There is still 5 laps to go. The 29th, 30th, 31st, 32nd, and 33rd laps. For those of you playing at home, remember 29 to 33 isn't 4, it's 5 in the racing world. But Pastina's damage is making it hard for him. He's trying to hang on here to 7th and potentially 8th as Lugi can catch up. If Lugi can get himself back to 7th, that is a fantastic result after being back of the pack with Speed Hunter after the first lap. Because with the guys ahead under investigation, including Pastina actually, potentially with drive-through penalties, time penalties, disqualification, all up on the table, we will find out. I would be very surprised if Anatami keeps the win, to be honest. A 5-second penalty is probably not appropriate for the form of the... Yeah, so I'll explain later. Pastina Calda is now dropped down to 7th place by Ramaz in the GT Italia squad. Italy is 5th, 6th and 7th. So the way they've violated the rules isn't that they've only gained 4 seconds or whatever by not taking a pit stop. It's the fact that they haven't completed the compulsory pit stop. They have come in, but they haven't completed a compulsory pit stop. And that's generally a more serious offence in racing, regardless of if it's a technical reason why you haven't completed your compulsory pit stop properly or if it's a just straight up didn't come into the pits. It's generally the same penalty, regardless of the way you infract there, and it's normally a significant penalty as if you hadn't come into the pits at all. So a time penalty of a very small nature is unlikely from the way I see motorsport in terms of precedent, but it's going to come down to what the race control guys decide. Because unquestionably, the quickest car today, the best driver in this stint, has been Anatami. Not arguing that at all. He's put mediums on that BMW. He's had great tyre wear, great fuel consumption. his pace has been unrivaled. The only weakness of that car was a lack of straight line speed compared to the absolute rocket ship that the RX guys have put together in that Porsche. That's the only weakness he's had, and even then he's still had a fantastic race and executed it brilliantly. So I am in no way arguing that they should not win this race, because they should. I'm just working on precedents from things that in series that I know have compulsory pit stops. So from what I'm trying to say is, the only information I can give you in terms of what I think is going to happen is what I know, because there is no precedent in the ERF as to what those penalties are. So I'm not sure how it's going to end, but that's my understanding of those rules. I think the drive-through is like 20-odd seconds, so potentially assume at most 20-second penalty, unless it's a disqualification, and then you sort of get a position. And we can see that Gira Techno is 21.8 seconds down, so potentially Anatami can still finish ahead of Gira Techno there and end up 4th, but it depends what the penalty is, because, yeah, normally you treat a missing CPS as if they hadn't come into the pits, and there is just no CPS. And now, interestingly, no, Pastina! Oh, I was going to say Pastina has hooked in on the back of Ramaz, and that slipstream, excuse me, is letting him overcome his aero deficit from the front aero damage. Excuse me. Keeping him away from Lugi is on PS, but that big mistake there out of the first chicane means he's now out of the slipstream, and Lugi's now catching him. And Lugi is only 2 seconds behind Ramaz, and there's still 3 laps to go. He was 6 seconds back. Lugi could get both of them. Lugi could steal 6th place here, which may become 5th by the end of this race. Who knows? It depends what happens down race control. Oh, okay. Mr. T is letting us know that it will be a drive-through penalty. So, the time for a drive-through... I don't know what a time for a drive-through is. It's whatever the time loss was before. So, I think it was like 20 seconds? Maybe less. Could be 15? I'm not entirely sure, so we're closer to knowing the answer. We're closer to the answer. So it's anywhere between 15 and 30 seconds, roughly. I think here it was about 20. As we see Lugi sneak up the inside of Pastina in that lovely Lexus RCF, and looks like a little bit of latency there, forcing Pastina wide, plus the aero damage. But importantly, Lugi is 1.4 seconds behind Ramaz, and if hopefully Pastina doesn't do anything crazy, those two will come back towards the GT Italia car and give us a grandstand finish here for 6th place, which may become further up the road, because of course Eric Slim is 16 seconds up the road. These guys would be potentially within a drive-through penalty of them in order to steal one more place. So I believe Anatami will be safe at the front. Sorry, Arix isn't getting penalised, Philo is, so maybe these guys will only be as far as they're here. So no dice for them, because Arix is one of the few people in the front who has taken his pit stop properly. Pastina's fallen off the back of Lugi, but Lugi 1.6 down still. Just check through. There's still fights going, as Speed Hunter has caught Groot, who has almost caught Hide. Groot has cycled back to 12th, actually. No, Groot and Hide were fighting, so I apologise to Hide. He's passed Groot, and Speed Hunter has passed Groot. So it's not looking great for XR Groot, but Speed Hunter will have a crack at Hide, and that will give Groot the opportunity to A, follow him through, and B, make an opportunistic pass if those two start to battle when the slipstreams all cancel each other out. Where does Speed Hunter make his move? I'll just check back with Lugi. Lugi is now almost into slipstream of Ramaz, and this is a legitimate fight for 6th place, and I don't think it'll be more. It depends how long a drive-through is, because Anatami's on the final lap. Timlaw 1 second clear of Philo, 8 seconds down on Anatami. If it's anywhere near 30 seconds, Ramaz and Lugi are fighting for 5th place here, because Philo will end up behind them. If it's not, well, they'll end up fighting for 6th place regardless. And Lugi, he's lost out on the parabolica there and not able to get the slipstream. So we'll just jump back to Groot and Speed Hunter, as we see Speed Hunter is now right on the back of Hide. He's almost out of fuel. Oh, can we get a decent camera angle, please? Hide blocks the inside. Speed Hunter goes to the outside here, down at the first chicane. Oh, cleanly outbrakes him. Does he stay on the track? Yes, he does. That balks Hide, and Groot goes with it, but Groot with a big slide and not able to get it done. However, he tucks back into a slipstream. That fight is not over because Speed Hunter will disappear up the road and potentially make it a straight fight between those two without a slipstream. Going back to Loogie, he's still 9/10 down. Not quite close enough just yet. And we see Groot, they did get slipstreamed back along, goes to the outside, nothing doing for him. However, it's not over yet. He's got to get 2 more chances, one down to Ascari, one down to the Parabolica, but he needed Speed Hunter to clear away from Hide to stop giving him slipstream, and Speed Hunter almost has broken the slipstream here, out through the Lesmos. And he has, oh, sorry, Anatami, I thought you were the next group. Anatami crosses the line to finish first. Is that a win? We don't know. Timlaw has damage. Oh no, Philo's, they've run into each other, I think. Yep, Philo and Timlaw have run into each other in some description. Not sure how and why, but I believe that means Timlaw will win this with the penalties as they are. Philo will end up somewhere backwards. Eric Slim will be second or third. It's very tight. Gira Techno, 6th place. Will definitely improve at least one position depending on penalties, but Ramaz is held on here over Loogie is on PS by 0.3 of a second. Another lap and Loogie would have had him. Pastina with damage hangs on to 8th place. Yeast GT 9th place. He's done well. MFT Speed Hunter 8th, and it looks like Groot has actually snuck past Hide. Not sure how and why, because I've tried to finish with everyone and I've completely botched the whole thing basically. I needed 4 cameras to watch the last lap, and there's no replay backlog back. Okay, Norantar is letting us know that Timlaw hit a lapped car that stayed on the racing line on the final lap of the race. That's not good. Oh, they've made a bad rejoin. I mean, obviously Tim must have got involved with him. It'll be Ovich then, I guess, who's gone off the road and everything's gone wrong for them. So, yeah, chaos at the end there. So the fight for second, which was very confusing. Not sure what's happening there. But anyway, congratulations, at the very minimum, to Anatami. Pole position, fastest man, easily the winner. But with post-race penalties coming, I don't think he stays the winner. Yeah, it's all a little bit confusing with the way that's all ended. Yeah, in hindsight, when I saw damage for both cars, I assumed they must have collided with each other. But of course, it was on the same side of the car, so they would have to have been facing each other to have achieved that. So, results provisional. Results very provisional, but congratulations to Anatami, leading a BMW M6 1-2, one on mediums, one on softs. Distinct Philo doing a great job for the TDR design car. Eric Slim, after qualifying so strongly, fading really the 4th quickest car of those 3, unfortunately for them, taking 4th place here, but good chance that becomes 2nd place with post-race penalties. Gira Techno, well done for the... it was a great name, Tavernello. I love that name. The Tavernello squad. I knew the V was in there, and it was throwing me off because it wasn't at the start. So the Tavernello squad coming home 5th, only 23 seconds behind the Anatami, GT Finlanders squad. So he's done a great job there, and really half the gap to the guys in front. He's done a fantastic job there, holding off Ramaz in the GT Italia squad, who just hung on ahead of Loogie is on PS, who had a fantastic qualifier. And you can see a 47.3 best lap was on par with Timlaw and Eric Slim, so he was in that group as the 2nd quickest cars. But Philo, quicker than Anatami actually, ending up 4th there. So Anatami, of course Philo was lucky with the big slipstream from Anatami when they did 47.0 and 46.9. But hey, you make it work. DCT Pastina Calder, the 47.7 is not representative of how quick he was. He was absolutely up in that fight with the leaders because he qualified well, stayed clean, and he should have done a better job than that, but unfortunately got damaged. We're not sure if that was lap traffic or if he made a mistake or fighting someone, but unfortunately for him, he ended up with damage from basically the halfway point and was able to hang on to 8th place. So he'll be very disappointed, but he did a great job considering. In 9th place, it's Yeast GT in the McLaren 650S. Not great pace, but he's done enough to hang on to 9th there, staying ahead of MFT Speed Hunter, who I think had to make 2 different damage stops. One probably more unenforced than the other because that lap 1 chaos unfortunately, that's just how those things go. Was able to sneak by Hide and Groot on the final lap, and then Groot was able to snatch away 11th place from Hide. It says 2-second gap in the end, but they were nose to tail coming into Ascari, so potentially more post-race drama depending on how that's all gone down, if it was a mistake from Hide or if Groot made a bit of a lunge or if it was side by side, but those two were very close on pace. Importantly though, beaten by Yeast, who was 0.4 of a second slower on best lap, but over the course of the race was 6 seconds up the road. GTMA, Ovic, missed the first 6 minutes of qualifying, never really caught up in the end, starting off the back, stayed at the back, but was able to defeat GWK Furycat, who was the slowest car in the race, but importantly finished the race because failure to do so can result in teams and drivers being suspended, if not banned, from the series. So always important to finish off those races, but overall a very, very competitive race. And again, congratulations to everyone who's basically left already. Thank you all so much for joining me here in Stint 1. Stint 2 will be starting very, very soon with, I think, Philo as lobby host. Let me just save that replay so I can figure out what happened for myself afterwards. How do I get the replay button? Save replay. Saved. Excellent. I should probably go and look at the replay while streaming, but I don't think Jaeger will allow me to muck about the way it was. So again, congratulations to Anatami, Timlaw, TNR Philo, Arix Slim, who was fourth, and then it was not Rammers, it was darn it. They're right there. Gira Techno, then it was Rammers, then it was Lugi, and DCD Pastina Calder. This has been the Endurance Racing Federation GT Challenge, round 3 from Monza for the sprint race. The second sprint race will take part starting, I believe, in 20 minutes before when qualifying will start. The next round of the endurance calendar will be for the Spa 24 Hours in August, I think just a month away. So it'll be great to see you all back again. Thank you so much for having me. I've been your host, Stiggs TC. I always forget to mention who I am and why I talk the rubbish I do. It's because I'm from Australia. Simple as that. We just don't know where the line is for the rest of the world because it's somewhere far, far behind us. Anyway, once again, thank you to the ERF staff with Mr. T and Jaeger running the stream. Mr. T, race director right now. Distinct Philo for conducting the BOP. As we saw in qualifying, 1/10 between 5 cars. So many quick cars here in this race. Different race paces necessarily versus their best laps, but overall a very balanced and equal race. Please hang around for the next stream. I'm not sure if Jaeger has swapped back yet, and if he hasn't, I might go a little cheeky and look at some replays. So, we're going off book.